chess puzzle is taken from a game that was played in 1947 in Leningrad between Mark Taimanov and Grigory Goldberg. Between the years 1946 and 1956, Taimanov was one of the top 10 players in the world, and there are few players who can present the same impressive performances against 6 world champions as him. Something Taimanov always will be remembered for is, however, his 6-0 loss against Bobby Fischer in 1971 in the candidate match for the world title. After his loss to Fischer, the Soviet government was embarrassed and, as Taimanov later put it in 2002 interview, found it unthinkable that he could have lost the game so badly to an American without a political explanation. Soviet officials took away Taimanov's salary and no longer allowed him to travel overseas. The official reason given for punishing Taimanov was that he had brought a book by Alexander Solzhenitsyn into the country, but that explanation was secondary in nature. Well, history is history, but this week's chess puzzle is still as interesting as it was for over 60 years ago. So you now have the chance to solve this one here. White wins in 3 moves. Good luck! What we need to do here is to exploit the interplay between the 3 pieces and thus not allow the black king to escape or get help from his own pieces. If we would choose to play rook to c1 here with a check, we'll let the king escape to b6, and with that our chances for a quick win disappears as well. We could of course try to use the cover check here, but it actually doesn't give us anything. The cover check will, however, be used here, only without the double check. Because what we'll play is in fact knight to b5 check. The bishop is now guarding b6 and the pawns are doing a great job guarding d7 and d6. This leaves the king with only 2 options, either to go to c8 or to c6. If the king goes to c6 and threatens our knight, we don't waste any time trying to guard it, but instead use it to check again, but this time on a7. The king can now only go back to c7 and then we checkmate on c1 with the rook thanks to the bishop. So let's go back to after our first move, knight to b5 check, and see what happens if the king goes to c8 instead. As you might have figured out here, there will actually not be any difference at all. We check with the knight at a7, the king must return to c7, and then we end the game with rook to c1, checkmate. Well, the maneuver with the knight was necessary to open up the bishop diagonal to b6 with a plan to limit the black king's escape chances. So if the knight hadn't been in the game at all, we would have checkmated black in just 1 move. So, I really hope you solved this puzzle, even though it was quite difficult this time. I may even choose a checkmate in 2 moves next week just to make up for this one. But we'll see what I decide. Let's make it a surprise.